that. But
I'm also fascinated by what you have to say about impressionable elites and the way you phrase it. They live through their problems more so. Working class people live through their problems more than impressionable elites. So my question is, do you count Congress among impressionable elites? And then what are the implications of impressionable elites for actual policy, from the war in Iraq to education, so on and so on?
well, you know, hopefully your congressman is in tune with the constituents and really has their ear. I know that Nancy's husband sure is. So I think, you know, look, part of the job of somebody in Congress is to continually stay in touch with what is happening with the broad mass of voters. But I think that it is, look, it is an issue generally, you know, in the Beltway, in Washington, that, you know, and with that so many opinions can become the same because they've overheard things, they've read the same article, you know, and suddenly opinion shifts because of one or two key articles that they see, as opposed to kind of this more individual inquiry. As I said, representative democracy was originally set up under the notion that the most considered people would be those with the highest education. And so it fundamentally is at odds if, in fact, the most considered people are not necessarily those with the highest education. And so, look, I think the individual public servants and people in Congress I've met are great, and they are far more policy and detail oriented than I think people ever give them credit for in terms of the complexity of the job that they do. You know, having said that, there is a chattering class out there that very often, you know, is influenced very quickly by what they see or read without really understanding the underlying facts. But remember, you know, for many years everybody thought the world was flat. So misperception is nothing new to the human race.
Thanks very much. In South Africa, we've got a big megatrend of people being HIV positive. And we're looking for solutions. We're coming out for 2 months to look at different prevention models in America. Do you have any suggestions that we can start looking for from your point of view, and any ideas of how we can take them back and implement them?
And what's the answer?
So what's that?
The last part of that?
I was looking for any sort of trends that you would suggest looking for so we can come up with some implementable solutions.
It's not something I can say is in my area of expertise. Senator Clinton has some excellent policies, but I don't think that I would say that I could really give you a meaningful answer, because it's not something that I can really spend a lot of time studying.
Yes, I just want to say that I live in Brooklyn, and a lot of dog pens or whatever in Manhattan, but in Brooklyn there's few there, and there are more children and the monkey bars and everything. But my thing is this, my question, immigration. And I see a lot that they seem to be like a herd instinct, the language, the food, the same church. We have Ukrainian Catholic, Armenian Catholic, you know, Polish, and we also got the Hispanics in their own different groups. We also got the Muslims there, and I see that you know, there's a much, you know, this is almost like a counter. Us Europeans are, as you said, a low birth rate, and we need immigrants to workers, and we're getting more immigrants. And they tell me that we may be a minority here in Manhattan in 5 boroughs. At some point, I see, they tell me this is happening, how shall we say, Europe and Japan or a few other places. I don't know. I mean, what I'm saying
again,
is,
I'm not making any comment on you know, on immigration. I think the point of the book is that we live in an increasingly diverse society that is accepting of diversity, you know, throughout society. Sure.
From listening to you, it seems like we're entering a different paradigm with the democratization of communications technology, communications media. Virtually anyone can be a broadcast source. So in Madison Avenue, it used to be how to cut through the clutter, how to get your message past all the noise through the clutter. Today, since virtually any one of us can be our own source of broadcast, with technology available today, it seems like clutter is the way. And so the idea, the paradigm of a control mechanism top down is no longer relevant. It's more like chaos. Chaos theory might have more relevance today. Your ideas or thoughts about that?
Well, look, obviously there's a dramatic increase in the diversity of media and of opinions. The question is are there in fact many more opinions, or some of the trends of impressionable elites, I think in fact give you relatively few opinions, in a spectrum. I don't think that has fully sorted itself out. I think that, again, as I pointed out at the beginning, a trend like a YouTuber, a trend like an individual broadcaster, I think trends like bloggers, they're here to stay. The majority of people in this room are not going to become, bloggers or YouTubers, but they are classic microtrends in the sense that they have impact, they're different, they're drawn together by the kind of the intense choices and lifestyle that they lead. And so you're right, the diversity of media continues. There's dramatic change in the media, but oftentimes we still see the big stories that appear on A1, that appear in the nightly news. They tend to drive a tremendous amount right through the media. So we in many ways still live, I think, in a world where the big media broadcast the big story, and there are obvious upsets where the blogs will find something contradictory to that and change the story. But in a typical day, I think the story is still being driven very much by the big media.